So, third stream just happened. We have probably 3 different things to discuss. We have exotic missions returning, we have new PvP maps, and then we have a bunch of smaller but also kind of big things that were announced after that. So, the first thing that I want to mention is that in my God Roll video, I mentioned at the top of the video that all of these, or half of these weapons, were going to be time gated to like May. Like the last weapon was going to come out 2 weeks before the expansion. Bungie has changed that. So now it's going to be 2 weapons per week. So it's only a time gate of 3 weeks now. So the last batch of weapons will come out on April 30th. So you will have a month now in order to go actually earn all those weapons, as opposed to like, you know, your favorite weapon showing up in the last 2 weeks and then you're trying to panic, which is a very good move. I really don't know the decision making behind, you know, walling that off, time gating that. They had to have known that they were going to make a lot of people mad doing that. So I think this change is very good. I think a lot of people would also just prefer everything launching at once, but I also understand them not wanting to completely overload people. So I think this is a nice in-between thing, but I really don't know what they were thinking, time gating it that far out, because it's like, dude, what are you doing? All right, so exotic missions are coming back in Whisper and Outbreak. These are 2 very, very beloved exotic missions that were pre-Beyond Light, so I'm guessing there was some extensive amount of like rebuilding that they had to do to bring these back into the game. Normal mode is going to be 40 minutes, and back then these missions were 20 minutes, but the legend version of these, which is where a lot of the, you know, extra cool stuff is going to be, legend mode is still 20 minutes as we knew it way back when. So no worries about that. If you just want to run it through on normal mode, you don't really have to worry too much about the time limit, which I think is totally fine, because like the super cool stuff and the higher difficulty is back to 20 minutes, as people who were playing back then will remember. To get back into the Whisper mission, you are not going to have to wait for a public event to show up and then do a special thing and then hope, you know, that if you mess it up, it comes back right away. I think they said you're going to talk to Eris Morn and she's going to tell you some cool stuff, and then you'll be able to go right into the mission. I wasn't really expecting them to do that again. Like, I don't know, it would have been like a neat novelty, I guess, if you could do it either way, or like it was only that way for the first hour. I don't know, but they were not going to limit how often you could come into this mission after how it went the first time, which was, you know, I remember that first weekend, people were waiting like hours and hours for this mission to come around before they could even try it again. So it was what it was, you know, part of the novelty. I understand, but that's not where we're at right now, you know? That's not where we're at. Some items have been moved around, some other things have been moved around. I'm not really expecting the geometry of either the Whisper mission or 0 Hour to really have changed in a very significant way. They did stop pretty early on, so there might be some small things that have changed, but from what we've seen so far, this place is pretty much exactly how I remember it. So I'm not anticipating too many things there, although they did say that they reworked both of the boss fights, and in terms of combat, things are being updated to this current day standards, because, you know, we got this mission came out almost 6 years ago. So it was basically, you know, year 1 still of Destiny, where we had double primary. So they had to make some changes to kind of bring it up to date. They also mentioned strand, like grapple and eager edge. I mean, this person's literally using an eager edge sword right now. It doesn't seem like they've made too many changes to sort of counter the use of those things. Like, they were pretty like, yeah, you know, like, we know they exist, and like, use them, like, go nuts. So that, I think, was about it for Whisper. There are new ships to earn in these missions. So each one of these missions had a unique ship. The Whisper ship is still like one of the best ships they've ever released, whereas the 0 Hour one was the Drifter ship, which was like looked all clunky and all that kind of stuff. And so they've made updates to both. So if you have the OG versions, you can hang on to those, but there will be new ones to earn in both of the missions. 0 Hour is kind of a lot of the same thing. What they talked about in these sections were just sort of like the development process and the ideas. And for 0 Hour, they talked a lot about Trevor, which is the robot that was hunting you down in that maze, and sort of the inspirations for that. It's just some pretty interesting stuff if you're interested in sort of like the development process or the background. A lot of these things, they explained how Trevor got his name, the acronym. Otherwise, not too much information because they only ran through like the first 5 minutes of the mission. So there's not really a whole lot to talk about without seeing a lot more. But I am anticipating both of the missions to essentially be as they were for the most part as we got them way back when, 5 and 6 years ago, whatever. Again, 40-minute timer for the normal mode. For people who just like want to run it and not be stressed out about a timer. A lot of the cooler stuff you're going to need to earn in legend mode, which is a 20-minute timer, plus I assume increased enemy difficulty. So moving on from the missions themselves, Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak are both going to be craftable. Whisper is coming with barrels and magazines, and then this middle perk here is going to either be Mulligan or Field Prep or No Distractions or Enlightened Action. Whisper is also getting a reserves bump. It's going from 18 to 24 in reserves, but otherwise the weapons are as you know them. You'll just be able to craft them with a custom perk here in the middle. For Outbreak, Rapid Hit has been suggested 1 trillion times. They are putting Rapid Hit in the perk pool for Outbreak Perfected. You're also getting Rewind rounds. Outlaw is staying there, and Headseeker is also here. I know something people are going to be absolutely using Rapid Hit, considering the weapon. Rewind, I think, is also somewhat viable, but I'm sure there's going to be a good amount of testing done. But sometimes it's tough to beat that stability from Rapid Hit, and Rapid Hit's reload speed is also very, very good. So very, very highly requested perk to see on Outbreak Perfected. People talking about the Catalyst, like add it to the Catalyst and this and that. There you go. You can add Rapid Hit or Wee Woo rounds to your Outbreak Perfected as soon as these missions come out. Speaking of which, Whisper is coming out in April, and 0 Hour in May is, I believe, what they said for when these missions are coming back. In terms of like thoughts, am I gonna run these exotic missions a lot? I'll run them to get all the items and then I'll be done, which is what I anticipate, Bungie is anticipating people are going to do. But I'm pretty happy to see these missions come back to the game because they are 2 of the best pieces of content that I think the game's ever gotten. These missions have had insanely high praise from everyone who's played them. So I'm just glad that they're back because there's probably such a massive audience of people who have joined the game in the past, 2, 3, 4 years even, that did not get to play these things. Next, we have the PvP maps. And Bungie did essentially like a kind of like a fly through of each of these maps. So May 7th, 3 new PvP maps in addition to a playlist to play just these maps for 3v3. But I do think they could all reasonably be played in a 6v6 format. These maps are much smaller. They're not like Disjunction. They're not like Multiplex, where they're these gigantic maps that need to be adapted for every single mode. These are much more what I would consider traditional Destiny maps. We're having one on Europa. We have one on Yomuna. We have one that is pyramid ship themed, although it's like basically in Root of Nightmares. And Bungie did a fly through of all of the maps. I don't really have a ton to say on them. I'll kind of like skip through. They did a little first person. They did a little third person, just kind of camera action. So I'll let some gameplay kind of fly through here. And they all like look pretty good. I think this Neomuna one got a lot of praise for how it looks, but I mean, they all look really, really good. It's just a matter of how are they going to play, and you can't really get that vibe too much from just a fly through of the maps. Like how are they actually going to play? Are they fun to play? Because I've said this, a million times, Bungie can make all the new maps that they want, but if they don't play well, and if I don't want to play on them, it doesn't even matter. Right? Like we got 2 new PvP maps in Disjunction and Multiplex. Whenever Disjunction pops up, I'm just kind of like, ugh. And Multiplex, I got pretty tired of pretty quickly. These maps, again, looking a bit more traditional. They look like they could fit a 6v6. They are built specifically for like a 3v3 competitive focus. They wanted to bolster the Trials experience, the comp experience a little bit, but I don't think there's any reason why these could not show up in a 6v6 format to some degree. So that's all I really have for the PvP maps, because you guys are not here for me for PvP, but I will be happy to play them. I'll kind of let this one scroll through as well, but I would just check out the the live stream itself or talk to your local PvP expert if you want some more intel on these maps. I just don't have a lot because, you know, we got to play on them first, right? After this, Bungie had a few more announcements. So the first thing is that there will be a title and a seal for Into the Light. The title's called Brave. What a surprise. But that was something that I was wondering if there was going to be, and there is. So there is a title to go earn. Next, they are introducing a thing where you can skip the New Light experience and just hop immediately into the game. So if you have some friends who are like, yeah, I know how to play a shooter, or, you know, you just have friends in general that you can coach, you can just tell them to skip the New Light experience. You don't have to take like the hour or so that it takes to do. And they also will give you one of these so you can just immediately unlock some kind of a kit for whatever class that you select. It comes with some gear, it comes with some subclass abilities, exotic armor quests, blah, 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 blah. So you're just gonna be able to hop right in, and combined with the gift of the Thunder Gods or Thunder Lords. Either way, the chest that you pick up, you're basically gonna be able to immediately hop into the game from like 5 minutes in. You can have a almost kitted out character. It is Thunder Gods, okay. You're gonna be able to have an immediately kitted out character within 5 to 10 minutes of logging on to the game. Whether you're a new player, you're a returning player, whatever you are, which I think is awesome. Next, character customization. We knew this was coming, but this is coming with Into the Light. It's just kind of like a, you know, reminder, hey, you're going to be able to re-customize your character with whatever they got going on here. They're giving out a name change token for Into the Light, so if you want to change your name, you're going to be able to do that. Also, a couple of bigger things. Number one is a mode called Pantheon, which they mentioned during one of the previous streams. Here's what they said. It is a raid boss gauntlet coming on April 30th. There's going to be an upcoming TWID, a Bungie update that will go over what this is going to be, but they said you're going to be able to face raid bosses with escalating difficulties and rewards to earn exotics, adept weapons, and old raid emblems. I'm not anticipating them relaunching the day one raid emblems or anything like that, but just old raid emblems if you didn't happen to go get them from the past. Very excited to see what this is, but literally this image is all we have, which is just the raid symbol. So look out for the TWID coming. I don't know which TWID they're gonna mention it in. Very excited. This is something that I've been, you know, fantasizing about for the past few years now. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a gauntlet of all the different raid bosses? I know I've said this in the past during live streams, or people asking like, hey, what raid do you want to have come back? It's like, I think it'd be cool to have just like a gauntlet of raid bosses, just like you just fight them all in a row. And so I'm very, very excited to see what this ends up being, because I think it could be pretty cool, especially if it's, you know, they said old raid emblems are coming back, which I'm assuming to mean that they're potentially bringing back old raid bosses, right? Stuff that's no longer in the game. Crown of Sorrow, Scourge, you know, whatever. So very excited to see what's going on with this. Very, very excited. And then finally, they are showing some Final Shape gameplay next Tuesday, April 9th. This is 30 minutes before Into the Light goes live. So I don't know how long this live stream is going to be. It might just be 30 minutes. It might be an hour. I don't know. But they're starting it at 9:30, which makes me think that they want to have it be done as Into the Light goes live. But we're going to have some gameplay. If there's enough stuff to break down, I will totally do some sort of a recap video for it. Yeah, it could just be a trailer. I mean, it's a game. It says gameplay preview, so I'm assuming we're gonna have some devs sitting down, playing Final Shape, and taking us through a little something, maybe talking about some features that are coming. So yeah, so it does look like 30 minutes for the gameplay preview, and then the Into the Light trailer comes out as Into the Light goes live, which is like, I mean, okay. This is the emblem for watching the Final Shape gameplay preview. I'm not gonna lie, it's a nice looking emblem. They said 15 minutes for the emblem. So you have to watch 15 minutes of the 30 minutes of the Final Shape gameplay reveal in order to get this emblem. Make sure all of your accounts are linked up. Make sure your drops are working on Twitch, because this, I think, will be the only time you will be able to earn this, unless they, you know, make it possible to earn sometime down the road. In terms of thoughts, like, yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned my thoughts on the exotic missions. I'm very glad to see them back. I'm going to play them to get the crafted version of the weapons and get the new ship and the collectibles and then this and then that, whatever else comes out. I'm happy that these, you know, really, really high quality missions are coming back to the game. I would love to see like Niobe Labs come back one day. That would be sick. Just like restoring a lot of like the greatest hits of Destiny, putting them back in the game. The new PvP maps look good. I hope they make their way into the 6v6 rotation so you can just kind of play them casually. Hopefully PvP players are going to be happy about those maps, but that's more of like a to be determined situation because we need to see how they're actually going to play. But they do feel a bit more reminiscent of the typical map experience that we are used to in the game. Pantheon, I mean, looks pretty sick. I mean, I can't even say looks pretty sick. We literally have a screenshot of the raid as the only piece of information that we have. This is literally all we have, but it sounds dope. I want to see how they execute upon it. I'm very much looking forward to reading about and seeing what this is actually going to be in terms of like the gameplay experience and all that, escalating difficulty, raid boss gauntlet. Like I'm pretty stoked to see what this is going to be. Pretty stoked. Yes. I'm gonna bring the chat back up. Let me get a vibe check, because I feel like vibes are kind of up right now. I feel like we're kind of vibing. Like exotic missions coming back that like everyone has wanted them to come back. Outbreak Perfected's getting rapid hit. We're getting some new PvP maps. Raid Gauntlet. Like I feel like vibes are kind of up right now. They're pulling out some stops. We'll see. I think we're heading into final shape pretty strong. I think, you know, they're trying to keep vibes as high as possible going into final shape, and hopefully that means, you know, some good times for final shape as well. You know, I think the first couple of streams there's been some apprehension from just like the community in general. I don't know what in this stream people will be like, yeah, but it's like, dude, new PvP maps, old missions coming back that everybody asked for, Pantheon announcements, we're getting some final shape gameplay preview. Like, I don't know, this is looking pretty good. As far as a celebration of all of Destiny, I mean, like, yeah, it's all a free update too. Like, it ain't bad. I can understand the apprehension of like, all right, what's the catch? You know, what's gonna go wrong? And I totally understand it. I totally understand that. But right now, I think I'm just gonna take the dub. I'm feeling pretty good about this, especially now that they combined, you know, the like adding into that the reduced time gating of the Brave Arsenal weapons. Like that's like cut in half now. So I don't know. For me, vibes are kind of up. Plus, I assume increased enemy difficulty.
What's up, shitheads?
Okay, kind of recording. Please don't call my audience shitheads. Only I can do that.